Morning guys, how's it going? Yuri here. It's Wednesday morning and I'm just about to actually head out to Victoria, BC. I have a flight later on today, and the reason I'm going out to Victoria, BC is that our University of Toronto men's soccer program has qualified for the national championships yet again. That's 3 years in a row, which is incredible. And in this video I want to share 3 powerful lessons that we learned from our provincial championships this past weekend that apply very much to your health and fitness goals. So let me briefly tell you what happened this past weekend. We had our semi-final match on the Saturday, and we played our arch rival from Toronto, York University, which they're the #1 team in the country according to the rankings. We came into the game very prepared, very eager to win. And the thing with the semi-finals, the way it's set up in university soccer in Ontario is that in the semi-final game of the provincial championships, there's 2 semi-finals, and the winners of those semi-finals automatically qualify for the national championships. So the final itself, might mean a little bit less than if it was just the final and the winner of the final making it to the national championship. So the semi-final game is really what everyone gets up for and wants to win, because that means that they're going to continue their season, move into the championships, nationally, and that's really the big one. So here's what happened. We go up against York, we give up an early goal, we're down 1-0. But we fought back, tied it up, went ahead, scored another goal. Final score, U of T 4, York 1. Incredible win. Our guys were pumped. They had a great game, very motivated, high energy. It was awesome. And because of that win, we obviously made the finals of the provincial championships, but we also qualified for the national championships in Victoria. So the guys were just on this massive high, and then we had to play the finals the next day. So the finals for Ontario was on the Sunday. So we played McMaster, and 2 years ago, we played McMaster as well in the finals, and they ended up beating us in a shootout. Although we were all over them all game, we just couldn't break them down. So we come into Sunday's game, it's the final, and the kickoff goes, and same thing's going on, right? They're sitting back, we're pretty much attacking them, controlling the play, a lot of possession, moving the ball around, but it almost seemed like a training game. There wasn't a lot of intensity, there wasn't a lot of heart. And then McMaster scored an early goal again off a corner kick. We were just sleeping, weren't marking our men, and we were down 1-0. And in the second half, our guys came out a little bit more hungry, a little bit more urgent, because at halftime, our head coach, my good friend Anthony, kind of grilled the guys and said, hey, listen, this is a final. This is not about, this is not a training match where we're just going to kind of go out and expect to win. And we actually won the provincial championships last year, so we actually carried the trophy out to the field before the game. And so maybe the guys had this sense of entitlement that we were a better team than McMaster and we were going to kind of walk all over them. Well, that didn't happen because we ended up losing the game 3-1. We had a much better second half, but there are 3 important lessons from this game that I want to share with you. And the first one is that good enough might not necessarily be good enough. And what I mean by that is that we qualified for the national championships on the Saturday. And in all fairness, it is when you ride this high of winning, the idea is that the ultimate goal is to kind of, as a young athlete, you want to travel across the country, get to the national championships, and it's a lot of fun, right? You get to stay, out of town with your teammates for an extended week. The season continues. You might win the whole thing. And that semifinal game is really what, I was in that position almost 10 years ago, and the semifinal game is always the one you always want to win because you don't want the season to end. But the problem is that when you win that game, you still have the finals to play the next day. So winning the semis and making it to the finals is not good enough because it takes a special character to be able to understand that, yes, we qualified for the national championships, but now we still have to raise our game to win the provincial championship title. We still haven't reached that goal. So good enough in this case for us was reaching the national championships based on the way we played in the finals, and that's unfortunate because we were a better team. Although McMaster played a very good game on a Sunday, and it's unfortunate that we just kind of let that championship slide right through our fingertips. So in your life, right, is losing a couple pounds good enough? Are you happy? Is it okay if you kind of let yourself go every now and then? Is it okay? Or is it like the end of the world, right? The thing is that, and I'm going to tie this in with my second point, which is the fear of loss and the use of pain as a motivator. See, is it, when you're fluctuating, a lot of people kind of go up and down with their weights, right? And the reason for that is because we generally have like an internal thermostat of where we should be with regards to our weight. If you think that you look good at 150 pounds, then if you go to 155, that internal thermostat is going to click on and say, hey, we're 5 pounds too much. You're going to work your butt off. You're going to lose 5 pounds. But right when you're back to 150, that pain is dissipated. So now, again, you kind of let yourself go. You don't work out as much. You eat whatever you want. And then that weight creeps back up again. And then, boom, it clicks on again. Rev up your exercise and eating well. Lose the weight and so forth. So is this happening in your life? And if it is, then what I suggest is that what's happening here is the fear of loss, or this pain as a motivator, is very powerful. And with our soccer team, the fear of losing the semifinals is always greater than the fear of losing the finals. Because if you lose the semifinals of the provincial championship in Ontario, it's over. Season's done, you go home, nothing. There's a huge amount of motivation to not let that happen. But if you win the semis, you're automatically qualified for the national championship. So even if we lost the finals, which we did, yes, it's bad, but at the same time, we know we're still at the big show. So do you see how there's a little bit of a difference there? Finals, you lose, you still make it through to the national championships. Semifinals, you lose, you're done. Game over, season's done, go home, go back to school. There's a very big difference in the level of motivation between those two games. I hope you understand that. And the same thing with your life. So what are the painful, unfortunately pain is a bigger motivator than pleasure for human beings. So what are the painful triggers that are going to keep you moving towards your goals no matter what, right? So you want to use a combination of things that you want to achieve, but also understanding that pain, the stick versus the carrot, is a little bit more powerful to kind of keep us going. So I want you to write down, after you finish watching this video, write down 3 painful things that would occur if you did not achieve your goals. And whether that's from a weight loss perspective or gaining muscle, whatever it might be, what are 3 very uncomfortable, painful things that would happen if you didn't reach your goal? And if you can't think of 3 things, I'm going to say that if you haven't reached your goal, it's probably because you don't have enough pain or enough fear of loss. There isn't enough pain to associate not reaching those goals. So it's just like you're comfortable, there's not enough of a fire underneath your butt to get you going. Maybe you're comfortable at 150, but really you should be at 140 pounds. But it's not that painful enough to get you to make those really small but powerful changes. So write down 3 things that could possibly motivate you from a fear or pain perspective. What's the worst case scenario that could happen if you did not achieve those goals? Write those down, keep them visible. Now obviously we don't want to focus on moving away from pain, we want to focus on moving towards our ultimate goal, but it's always good to have a reminder of what's going to happen if we don't, right? Fear of loss is a very powerful motivator. Now the third lesson I want to share with you is this sense of entitlement. Now as I mentioned, we had won the provincial championship last year in a great game against York. We beat them in penalty shots, and so we were the defending champions for our province. So we come into this game, we have the trophy from last year sitting in our change room. We walk out to the fields with the trophy. Now, we know, going into this game, that we are a better team than McMaster. So again, these are things that deep down, without even being conscious of it, can affect the way we affect our belief system about feeling that we deserved to win this game simply because we had won last year and we think we're a better team. Okay? Now, unfortunately, none of that really matters. What matters is what happens on the field during those 90 minutes or 120 minutes if you had extra time. All that matters is what you do. And the same thing happens in life. We did not show up to win to deserve the championship in that final game. Same thing in life. You don't deserve anything. Okay? Understand that. It doesn't matter where you come from, what you've been given. You don't deserve anything. What you deserve is to work towards your goals. You're not entitled to an amazing body, lots of money, happiness. None of that is entitled to anybody. You earn that through work, you earn that through discipline, and you earn that through committed effort. Okay? So that's why, I always use this example of if I were to, you see this a lot of times in pro sports where you have teams that have great players, very skilled, high-paid players, but these teams usually, or in some cases, perform poorly. They don't have the work ethic, they don't have the chemistry between the players, and they think that they're just good enough that, they don't need to do any hard work, that they'll just be given the wins and the results and the championships. Well, I would rather work with a team any day that had a mediocre group of skilled players, so mediocre, they didn't think they were God's gift to man or the sport, but instead they put in the effort, they put in the work, and they realized that with hard work and consistent effort, they could achieve their goals. And I would rather work with people like that any day. And I've worked with clients, in the past of both sides. I remember having a client who told me she did not want to sweat. And I told her, well, that's unfortunate because you're not going to achieve your goals if you don't want to put in the work. So realize that it does not matter what your background is, who your parents are, what you know, none of that matters. All that matters is what you do consistently, okay? And that is going to be the biggest predictor of the goals that you do or do not achieve. So remember this, where you are today is 100% your responsibility. If you're not where you want to be, it's your fault. I'm sorry to be harsh, but it is. Where you are is 100% because of the things you've done or the things you have not done over the course of your life so far. And once you realize that, it's a good thing because it can be a harsh reality, but it's also an empowerment. It's an empowering tool because now you realize that, hey, if I haven't done X, Y, Z and it got me here, what if I started doing A, B, C to reach my goals? I recently had a comment on the blog saying that, and I actually was a little harsh with my reaction, with my reply, and I can't remember who asked this, but they said that they want to lose weight, but they're going to do it exclusively through diet. They do not want to work out. Well, unfortunately, in 20 years' time, in 10 years' time, you're still going to be where you are because you have not realized that you have to do the work, both from an exercise perspective and a diet perspective, to reach your goals. There's no ifs, ands, or buts, okay? So you do not deserve to be anything other than what you want to be as a result of the work and dedicated discipline that you put into it. So, there we go. I hope these lessons have, made you think a little bit, have hopefully motivated you to kind of get off your butt and do the work, because that, at the end of the day, is what is going to determine whether you achieve your goals. All right, so with that said, I gotta go. I gotta catch a plane. I'll be sure to shoot some videos over from Victoria. I've actually never been there, so it should be nice. And I'll get some live footage from our games as well, and I'll throw these into the videos so you can kind of get the atmosphere of the national championships. It should be a lot of fun, and we'll keep our fingers crossed to see if we can win the whole thing. And as you can tell, I'm kind of growing the playoff beard, right? So hopefully it's worth it. We'll see you soon.